Welcome to the Hardscape Huddle, the ultimate podcast for contractors looking to elevate their game in the hardscaping world. I am your host, Kyle Staffa. On this show, we're all about sharing the knowledge and skills you need to excel your craft and build your business. From mastering the latest installation techniques and staying ahead of industry curves, the Hardscape Huddle is your trusted resource for all things hardscape construction. Whether you're a seasoned veteran or just getting started, we've got the tools and tips to help you build the business and exceed your clients' expectations. Join us each week as we sit down with industry experts, share insider secrets, and deep dive into the nitty-gritty of hardscape design and installation. Get ready to level up your skills and take your contracting business to new heights. And today, we bring the Staffa Stone team from Bayville, New Jersey.
Yep.
Over here, we have Lewis, Gavin, and Aiden. My name is Kyle Staffa, and I own Staffa Stone. We are a landscape and masonry supply yard located in Bayville, New Jersey. But we're starting this podcast because I feel that after 30 years in business, there's a void. There's a void in our marketplace where contractors are getting lost, homeowners are misinformed, and I think it's time that somebody takes the bull by the horns, so to speak, and help elevate this industry. Okay, we're a less trusted industry, and it's time to change that, and I'm taking it upon ourselves to do that. First up, I'd like to introduce our fearless leader, Louis Irola. He's the general manager of Staffa Stone. So why don't you tell me about the experience that you have on the supply and installation business?
Certainly. So I started very young in the field. I actually worked for a pool installer, hustling wheelbarrows every day, shovel in the ground, boots in the ground, doing what I had to do to get the job completed. Slowly moved up from there to foreman, to supervisor, to managing the pool company. Shortly thereafter, I went to work for a landscape company. I spent about 5 years in the field managing about 40 guys. We ran everything from small construction to large construction projects to 500 square foot pavers to thousands of square foot of wall. We then moved on. We had about 5 maintenance crews as well. It was a pretty large outfit. From there, I moved to another supply yard where I spent about 7 years. Helped open the doors, went from everywhere, trucks, inventory, filling the shelves. At the end of the day, what I realized is that every job had the same thing at the end of the day: satisfying the customers. And slowly but surely, I started realizing they are what brings everything to us. They are what makes us.
You're saying homeowner.
Homeowners, the end user,
right?
User.
Those end users are what gives us all opportunities. The happier they are, the more we work, the more opportunities there are for everyone.
Right. I couldn't agree more.
I then joined your team.
Yep.
4 years ago. And since then, we've just been doing our very best, satisfying all of our customers.
Which are homeowners and contractors alike.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
So obviously in your years of experience, you bought other supply yards, other, particular places.
Absolutely.
Is it safe to say that we do it a little bit differently than everybody else?
Oh, 100%. 100%. From our logistics to our trucking, to our employees, to our outfits, to our service, to our inventory, to hands down, top to bottom, we are 100% different in a better way.
Well, I appreciate that. We couldn't do it, without you. That's for certain. The motto is just be better today than you were yesterday. And I think we're all doing that, quite honestly. Next up, I have Gavin Gilroy over here. Gavin has been with us 2 or 3 years.
If you want to get technical, only like 762 days. Just about.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, we're getting there.
So what other experience do you have in the construction industry?
So I'd say I have a total different outlook than I'd say most people in this industry, whether it's our location or any other yard, where I'm coming from more of a homeowner standpoint of how I approach things. So, Lewis goes back and, he's been in the field and this and that. You as well, being in the fields. Aiden pretty much just growing up. He's pretty much a human forklift already by at this point. But for me, I started, I went to college, sold sheds for a few years, and coming over to the hardscape industry, I didn't even know what a paver was. Pretty much the whole first year, I had to figure out installation, products, this and that. And the more I deal with homeowners and contractors, I like to, I put it in my head of what I would like in my yard. How would I want something to be installed? So
I noticed that you tend to gravitate towards homeowners. And that's a good skill set to have, right? If you can explain what it is we do, what it is we sell. I also noticed that you sell certain products. You like to sell what?
I like to sell porcelain, landmark ceramics, porcelain tile. I'd say the reason is
shout out to Andrew.
Yeah, just a little bit, just shout out. I'd say the reason is because again, I go back to what I would want at my house, and at the end of the day, like a product like porcelain is like you like to say it's bulletproof. So
yeah, I heard a contractor
I'm going
say
to the
it, so
spiel.
I'm running with it. Bulletproof.
Sells itself.
Heat resistant, stain resistant, all that stuff. And that's something that if I'm willing enough to put in my house, I would like to, pass that over to the customer, because at the end of the day, if there's less issues, it's less issues for the homeowner, so they're happy, less issues for us, less issues for the contractor.
Everybody involved.
Yeah, so it's just a product that, I love all the lines that we carry, but I will start from the top, whether it's Landmark Porcelain or it's Blue 60 HD or it's Beacon Hill's new sealed paver. Because if you're going to invest that much into a product or into your backyard, I feel like you don't want to go halfway. I've been
all
here
or nothing.
I've been here for over 2 years, and I've dealt with the same customer twice, who I don't want to say regretted it, but went with the wrong product the first time because they wanted to save a penny, save $1 here and there.
They chose the more cost-effective product for their backyard at the time.
Yeah.
However, if they look over the square footage and the difference of the more cost-effective product or the more premier product for that same line, you're talking pennies to the dollar over 500 square feet or 1,000 square feet. You're really not talking much. But that's our job to educate the end user.
I think that's why I like doing it the most, like dealing with homeowners and contractors, just to explain that part. It's
right.
It's 50 cents over 1,000 square feet is $500. I mean, I might be a little different, but I'm willing enough to pay $500 for a much superior product. Just giving the homeowner or the contractor the choice to make that decision is the big difference. Because if you're not giving them the choice, then you're not giving them your best effort.
Well, I think that's what separates us from a lot of other suppliers as well, is we go into every conversation with every homeowner, with every contractor on a personable experience. We treat it as if it's someone we know, as if it's our yard, as if it's a friend of ours. And at the end of the day, they build trust within us.
Well, even that's a very good point. But even then, if you notice, we become friendly with most of these homeowners afterwards.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right? The gentleman that showed up Saturday afternoon while we were closed, but we opened the door.
Yeah.
I knew him for only through the store.
Yeah.
But he took on an incredible project on his own. And then when it came to the backyard, he decided to hire somebody for that. That was a whole pool and everything like that.
But some of them that do tackle their backyard on their own, the husband and wife in Ocean County.
Yeah.
I mean, incredible what they did in their backyard.
Yeah.
Pool,
and they used all the big stuff, the big heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Incredible what they did in the backyard. So they're fully capable.
Yeah.
But they trust in us as the minute they walk through that door. And for you just beginning 2 years ago, I mean,
Props.
The reason you've gained so much knowledge in this industry is because you treat every customer personable. So you take that extra effort of helping that customer and you go through every sample and you take that extra time, and that gives you the education needed to move forward as well. So great job over these past 2 years on the staffing team.
Thank you, sir.
Good job,
Big
Fab.
facts. Big facts.
Certainly, or last but certainly not least, we have Aiden over here. Aiden is a dedicated account representative, I would say. Done a very good job for us. Started off in the yard and has done well.
Yeah. However, I just want to make one thing clear. We heard a lot of experience coming out of these two. You know what it means? He's old, but he's older. And, that's one thing that I'm trying to tackle as a younger individual myself. I think it's important we try and bring the youth in on this because at the end of the day, it's the future. And I think currently people are worried about getting into the unions and everything like that. But at the end of the day, this is a luxury item that people are putting in their driveways, their backyards, whatever, that we could be charging, just as much as these union guys and making just as much money, if not more. And it's important that we get some reach to the youth, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to keep this industry going, whether it be, kids that started when they were 14, 15, 16 at their dad's business on the Saturdays, kind of like myself, or, well, really, mine was through COVID, but anyway,
He is the only one I know that
was
went
working
through
40 hours.
and getting his homework done.
Well, that's a
Junior
great
through
point
senior
too.
year.
I mean, we only grow and continue to grow based on the generations behind
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
Well, again, that
There's not a lot of young guys right now.
Not a lot of
Not at least what we see coming in.
Whether
But
it
now we're
be-
starting to see that uptick of that second generation
right.
taking over because it went from nothing
Well, the
to
industry
something
has
real fast.
changed in the last 5 to 10 years.
That's another
pretty
thing.
fast,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the topics we're going to talk about tonight is, different changes that we're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so tonight's focus is going to be about what we intend on talking about throughout the next episodes of our podcast. But we might as well just start right there, Gav, is, base products has changed, okay? As we all saw through COVID, you couldn't find certain products.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to change,
Yeah,
okay?
that's true.
So the ICPI and NCMA changed some of their formats, okay? So we no longer use R blend and Quarry blend in a lot of applications. We use an open grade base for permeability, okay? In some locations, you can do it. Other locations, it's real tough. You got to amend the soil.
Mhm.
And we'll get further into that in other episodes. But,
Mhm.
and to Aiden's point, we are seeing an uptick in the masonry unions throughout the cities, especially.
Mm-hmm.
Right, all the bricklayers and the laborers unions are booming.
Yep.
So no, and again, we couldn't have this podcast to help elevate our industry if it wasn't for you guys here. And you younger guys are getting the experience, at our store.
Mm-hmm.
The elderly guys and the youth.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important to soak it up like a sponge, whatever you can, and if it's coming from an older guy, it's important to sit there and sometimes it's better off just listening. And I think individuals like myself and Gavin were able to grow a little faster than certain people our age, not being that, whatever. But I think we're able to do that because we're surrounded by individuals who make it easy. And take it for what you will, shout out to you guys. But at the end of the day, as a team, it's important because you're understanding as well. Because there's a lot of older people that aren't as understanding or as open to the idea of, hey, I was a kid at one time too. So, I understand there's a learning curve, or I understand that maybe I shouldn't word it like this, but, the youth is different than when I was a kid. So it's just a different, different time.
You have a better memory, so hold on. But to that point,
Because old. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
to that point, that's what also hurt our industry.
True that
Okay.
too.
I've been doing it this way for 40 years,
Exactly, exactly what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
And how many times do we hear that in the store?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't need to change my base prep. Okay, but this way's faster. This way will save you money in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
If the world didn't adapt, we'd still be on iPhone 1.
Or cavemen running around.
And I thought they
chasing
just
zebras.
wanted our money.
Just saying. But to your point, your youth keeps us young.
Yeah, that's true too.
The four of us combined, we're about 30 years old average.
Whoa,
So your youth keeps us young.
Shout
It
out
keeps
me
us
and Gavin.
moving.
It's a big jump.
All right, so switching gears. Some of the topics we're going to talk about in our podcast is going to be marketing. Okay, we intend on bringing in a couple marketing individuals from outside companies. And what they're going to do is, talk about social media marketing, internet marketing, because we're building on the youth. Okay. I once heard a stat, and I don't know if it holds true for now. But the stat was, if you're spending $25,000 in your backyard, you're gonna Google 10 times what products to use, what contractors to use, things like that. And that's on $25,000. I know we just recently bought a truck for the business. Okay, I looked at a bunch of different dealers. I spent time on Sundays driving around looking. Ultimately, it came through the internet, and I found the truck out, Western Jersey. We just went out there, and fortunate enough, it was still there.
It's an information age we're living in,
right?
And whether it's, I think this industry is cool because if you notice on social media, it's not just getting the reach to customers, the end users, whether it be homeowners, commercial properties, whatever it is, whatever your forte is. But at the end of the day, it's networking with each other. And, you can go ahead and you can take a little bit of his knowledge, a little bit of his knowledge, and then you put the two together, and now you're doing your own thing. And you could put in, sprinkle some of your own stuff in there, and then boom, you have a whole brand new concoction, and then you're operating at a different level, or you're doing better installs, you're doing cooler designs.
So knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power at the end of the day. And what better time period than right now, especially on social media? You see it, current events, whatever, if we want to talk about it, we're here. We all got mics, but at the end of the day, what are they doing right now in the government? Not getting into politics, but banning TikTok. That's a.
Did that pass?
I don't know. I don't know if I haven't. Don't pay attention. I'm a young guy, but
the youth of today.
The youth of today, right? But at the end of the
watches
day,
the news?
It's a lot of information on there, and
But you got to have a social media presence.
you got to have a presence,
and
it's
that's
got to be
what
relevant.
this company.
Yeah.
Yes.
When they come in on the podcast, that's what they're going to talk about. They're going to, talk about their company, what they bring to the marketplace, even in the hardscape business,
Mhm.
and how to have a social media. Listen, you guys called me older, right? Yeah, I am a caveman. I barely know how to turn my phone on, right? But that's okay. I have young guys like you.
Mhm.
Okay, we sub our social media now out. We can't keep up with it.
If it were up to me, I'd still have my flip phone.
Yeah, we finally got
But-
Lewis on Instagram, everybody.
I needed it.
Shout out Lewis.
Shout out Lewis on Instagram.
Lewis, yeah.
We need our phones to adapt to the world of today.
I wonder what the stat is though of researching on Google of how many times or how many contractors or whatever they end up going to a Facebook, Instagram, and whatnot to every time they find a guy that's where they actually do their research on. So, I could just imagine you go on Google, you're looking for contractors locally, you find a contractor, you go to their Instagram page right away, and then you go see the jobs that they have done.
That's what
goes same thing for us. Like the things that we post too, when someone is looking for pavers, we're gonna pop up. They're gonna come to our Instagram first, and then they're gonna see some products that we're releasing, and this and
Well,
that.
that's what the marketing team will do for these contractors and small businesses. They will develop SEOs in certain search engines for them. The minute they Google it, it's tied into their social media platforms as well. So they can see the clicks, the likes, they can see the views.
Yeah.
They can report right back to their landscapers and or to their small businesses of literally a pie chart of everything that clicked through their social media, through their websites,
down to what's
right down to
down to what county
correct
was, the most viewed from, on your post or whatever.
The interesting thing when we were looking for a social media marketing company is you can pick out their credit, the household income, and that's the houses you target. It's just wild.
Yeah,
that
that's
means
crazy.
everybody's watching us.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Big Brother's watching.
And then that's not even,
And
I mean,
listening.
if you really want to get down
True.
to it, there's paver companies now that have decided, the two companies we work with, Unilock and Techoblock, they have both made it a agenda of theirs this year to really push that social media campaign. I mean, we heard Unilock, not too long ago tell us that they're going to actually be doing, in-person interviews
They
with
already
these
started.
contractors
Mhm.
They
and going
started
to the
already.
actual job site. And we've had a couple of our
Right.
guys on there.
Right.
And I think it's important that those type of companies start giving back to these guys that are out on the, have their boots on the ground, because at the end of the day, they're the ones really representing the product in
Mhm.
front of the
Yeah.
end user.
Yeah.
That's it. And it goes, from the manufacturer to us to the contractor to the end user is really how the chain of whatever we want to call this works. But
even the manufacturers, not to cut you
No,
off,
yeah.
but even the manufacturers need to get involved with
they should
SEO,
agree.
the search,
Mhm.
search engine optimization, so that homeowners know to come into the stores and ask for a particular
I mean,
product.
shout out to the one guy.
You got it.
He's good. His advertising's good.
Especially the newer guys getting involved. They may be the best installers that we've ever seen. But sometimes, because they're busy working in their business, meaning in the field,
Right.
okay, they're not necessarily working on their business. That means it can only go as far as they can do it, with everything on their backs. Okay, that means their accounts receivable, they don't know. Their accounts payable, they don't have no idea who they owe. Okay, how to set up liens. Okay, if they take on a bigger commercial project or even a bigger residential project. So we're going to bring in an outside accounting firm for this podcast, and we're going to ask that person to speak about those type of things. Setting up their books, getting ready for retirement. Most guys in the hardscape masonry business have no idea how to retire. Okay, they
We've
just
heard
think
it
they're
from
gonna
them
right.
multiple times.
I'm working
Right.
till I can't. Yeah.
Exactly. That was a contractor who came in not too long ago,
too
right?
long ago, yeah. Working till I can't.
And the other thing is let's face it, some of these guys charge by the square foot, some of them don't, and you can see the contractors that know what their cost of goods are, know what it costs for their insurance, and they have it worked into each particular project. They know that it's $5,000 for insurance for the month, and they break it down by how many projects they get for that month. And they charge the homeowner accordingly. They're not necessarily charging by the square foot.
Well,
So I think that accountant is going to, go over those kind of things.
And, this is my just personal opinion. An accountant like that not only educates the guys maybe just starting out or maybe never got that education of how to balance your books and how to write up how to know your worth at the end of the day.
Know your value. Yep.
Know your value, know your worth. And it's actually going to help the guys that already do that stuff as well. Because another common complaint we get is a lot of guys underbidding certain guys.
Right.
But
that one's
maybe
crazy.
it's not, now we're really getting into it. So, now it's not, maybe it's just because they're underbidding because it's a lack of education.
And they don't know.
And they don't know.
They don't know what it costs to run their
Exactly.
business.
So, the guys that are running it the right way, an accountant like that, trying to elevate the whole industry would be helping you as well, because now it's an even playing field. Now we're all comparing apples to apples because we're all doing it the right way price wise, and value wise, because at the end of the day, like we were talking before, these union plumbers and these union electrician guys and all that, $100 to $200 to sometimes $300 an hour, and we're over here, heard some crazy stories at $12 to $13 a square foot, and at the end of the day,
that's installed.
That's installed,
right?
Well,
when the average concrete paver's $4 ish, right?
$4
and
change.
To your point though, charging per square foot. I mean, Aiden and I took a class with a guy who's teaching the class is one of the most successful.
Shout out Bill Gardocki.
One of the most successful hardscaping companies up north, and he even said though, who's charging per square foot, and pretty much everyone raised a hand, and he said that's one of the worst things you could do, because someone gives you a call and they say, I don't know, roughly 800 square feet. So you got to trust that they know how to use a tape measure first. You give them a rough square foot of a basic paver that's, you're going to say $17 a square foot. Then you get there and you have 3-foot access. It's in the backyard. It's 1,500 square feet, and they want double the price paver than what you quoted out. And now you're bidding back and forth because they want that original price you gave them. It never works out
backwards.
And they're on the water, so the water table is totally different from where you typically work,
right.
Or it never works out doing it that way. It's every job has to be quoted out separate, and every job needs to be quoted out fair to what's needed.
Yep.
As well as the natural elements. I mean, every job is different, but I've also been on a job site when I was in the field doing a quote to remove a driveway and do the pavers. I bid it at 6 inches of concrete that was being removed. You don't know who was there prior to you.
What's underneath that?
Once we made it halfway through the driveway, there were 12 inches of concrete, rebar, and wire mats right through the concrete. The amount of time it took us to remove the concrete now doubled, tripled in the cost to remove it and dispose of it. And it's all because we trusted the homeowner telling us it was 4 inches of concrete based on who installed it prior.
Yeah.
That's like when
I ran into a similar thing that, they wanted us to excavate out just for flower beds for Japanese gardens. It was a brand new development. We had to dig out 4 feet by 18 inches, the entire perimeter of the patio that was put in. And the patio was wet laid on concrete. It was a standard 6x9. Nothing to it. How hard could this soil be? All we had to do was dig it out, bring in topsoil that the homeowner was purchasing, wheelbarrow it in the backyard. He went out to a nursery in Long Island and bought all his own plants, all kinds of crazy Japanese plants. It was beautiful when it was done. We figured 2 days. Me, my father, in 2 days. How hard could this be? 5 days later, we were just getting out of there. The ground was rolled. It was compacted. We pumped out, I can't remember, 75, 100 gallons of water that patio was holding. It was just a nightmare. I know the house. I know where it was. I'll never forget that job. But yeah, each job is different. It's
and mixed into what you said about keeping track of your books and this, as we're giving shout outs all over. Paver Pete, he came in and he even explained like you have to quote out for everything that you even need for the job. So if you have 4 guys on the job site, you need 3 guys to dig in a certain area, and you have 2 shovels, and for this job you need 3 to keep the other guy busy. You build that third shovel into your cost. It's a special job where based off of what needs to be done, you build everything in. That's why like sometimes when there's quotes coming in and you either have a laundry list of let's say the material, tools, glue, all that stuff combined, you're sort of getting more of a sense of how much it's really going to cost. But when you spread it through, I don't know, 5-6 invoices, a lot of that stuff gets lost. So then you're trying to combine it all together, find it all, and then you don't know if you're actually bidding it out fair at the end.
Right. You have no idea if you're making money at the end. So that's kind of what the accounting, firm that we bring in is going to talk about. So hopefully that'll help a lot of guys, like Aiden said, older guys and newer guys. And again, we think that should help elevate the guys working in their business rather than on their business. Another thing we're going to talk about is labor. Everybody knows how easy it is to find people to work who want to get dusty and dirty, work out in the elements, like Lewis mentioned.
Well, like me every day, you know.
He's an office guy for a reason.
When it's 100 degrees and it's sunny and it's windy and rainy and you're working on the ocean, or if you're working up in the mountains of Pennsylvania and you have to shovel the base material off before you can lay pavers. I remember that day too. It was absolutely freezing. So there's a couple companies out there that we have discovered that are headhunting companies for the trades. So they're going to come in and talk. There's also a county program. A gentleman from the county program is going to come in and discuss how to, find labor, get skilled labor. Another big thing too is once I find these people and we negotiate, the pay scale, and how do we retain them?
Right.
That's a subject in its own.
And that's why we're bringing it up, right?
Yeah.
We're going.
It's not to cut you off, but to speak about the county, it's not only labor that they can help you find. They can help you find drivers. They can help you find what you're in need of.
Right. I mean, we recently just used the program, right? We just found a CDL driver.
And then on the other hand, they're helping people find employment. So it's a win-win for everybody. And it's important to, look into and get some information on it, because at the end of the day, that's our number one problem we hear from guys, especially the older guys that are looking for younger help, because blocks aren't getting any lighter and people aren't getting any younger. No offense to anybody. I know you might have took some offense to that.
I'm going to cry myself to sleep tonight.
At the end of the day, it's important that we find good people and treat them like good people.
A contractor came in a few months ago, and he said that he was trouble finding help and this and that, and he's like, the demands are crazy, right? So if you go through a program like this, it sort of weaves through all that. He said that he had people calling him for work, but they've never been in the industry. They have to be picked up. They want an hour lunch paid for, and they want almost nearly double what the guys working for them have now, who know what they're doing. But programs like that is how you weave through all that.
Right. You let the head hunting firm or pick through the people, and they match you up. It's a pretty good program. Gentleman's name is Chris, so I'm excited to have him come on and speak.
Shout out to Chris.
Chris, shout out. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah. But also to your second point of that, of how do you keep these employers or employees? I apologize. How do you keep them happy? How do they stay employed by you? And that's another subject within itself. I mean, we treat everyone at Staffa like family. Yeah. We've done different events. We celebrate everyone's...
We're big on food.
We celebrate everyone's birthday.
Which, speaking of, when's the pizza coming?
We have food. We have cake for every birthday despite of the day. If it's on a weekend, we celebrate it on a Monday. We do a lot of things together. So at the end of the day, when we all go to work,
ACLs together.
We do.
Yeah.
So when we all go to work,
team building events.
In my eyes, it's not going to work. It's going to spend time with friends and just do a job.
Yeah,
basically. I mean, it's different.
100%.
And that's the environment that we need to give to the up and coming employees to keep them employed.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Lewis, because maybe a separate episode of a podcast, we should talk about healthcare benefits and, retirement plans. That's a big thing.
Absolutely.
Right.
100%.
So, I mean, again, that'll all tie back into what it costs you to operate that business.
I also think it's important too, like I was saying before, you gotta not make it easy for your employees, because at the end of the day, nothing's gonna be easy, but you gotta be a little understanding. There's a little learning curve, and I think you two personally have a very good grasp on that. You're not really, obviously you got to do what you got to do. But, for the most part, every new guy that we bring on, we give him when I was starting in the yard, I can't tell you how many times I got stuck on a forklift and I never got yelled at, or how many times.
So you got to give them leeway. Is that what you're saying?
You kind of got to give them either leeway or a goal. Give them the ability to be successful as an employee.
Well,
give him a shot.
What you said,
because at the end of the day, he can drop a lot of pallets driving a forklift.
Listen, that
he
was
can
one
rip
time,
a lot of bags
one time
driving a forklift.
It was only 4 bags. But to your point, the only people that make mistakes are the ones that are actually doing something.
Yeah,
100%.
I say it all the time.
So yeah, I ripped 4 bags, but I loaded 400. Not really, but
that was probably the last time you ripped 4 bags.
First
and
last.
First and
last. We gave him the opportunity.
Another thing the boss said, if you don't want to do something, you mess up the first time, you won't be told to do it again.
Hey. Don't let that out.
But to Aiden's point, we give opportunity, we help grow, we help mold, we help build the younger generations that are employed by us to work with us, not just for us.
100%.
And we're eager. I mean, Kyle's out there. Whenever anyone needs to be loaded, anyone needs help with trucks, Kyle's first one out there.
I think that goes a long way too.
I'm out there the minute the radio rings that it needs help, I drop everything I'm doing and I run out to help.
To each his own. I think there's certain bosses that that would rather be, very set back. This is what you do. I'm not going to lead by example, but I think the leading by example goes a further way in today's youth, especially because in today's youth, be 100% honest, it's whether it be a lack of respect, but the biggest thing is a lack of attention to detail is what the youth lacks, because our attention spans are certain people's attention spans are ridiculous because of social media. That's what the end of the day.
So we need to have that marketing class,
Another
right?
day, another thing.
I think I could speak for both Kyle and I on this one. We only lead by example.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I mean, you've been in the
we
truck
wouldn't
more
ask
than
you two to
your
do
office.
anything that we wouldn't do ourselves.
Yep.
We only lead by example, and that's what molds you guys to the better tomorrow.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's true too. 100%.
For sure. How are you going to lead if you've never done it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, so if we can't find labor, if we get tired and we've run through the whole Ocean County and can't find labor, what do we do next? We recently talked to a couple contractors who have invested heavily in their business, and they have an outlay of a lot of money.
A lot of money.
Right? But
stupid money.
The machines show up every Monday, even after the Super Bowl. They never show up hungover or late. So we'd like to talk about that, and we can probably even do some demos and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd like to talk about that, and what that does is help reduce your costs slightly. So yes, you'll have a cash outlay up front, but what you'll get back in the long term, as long as you maintain the machines, of course, will be greater. And I think, and you may have seen this out in the field, that it's quicker once you get to utilize it.
That's what I was going to point out once you finish talking. It's not only if you can't find labor. If you have the labor, now you can produce more.
Mm-hmm.
With the proper equipment, you can take on more jobs. You can produce more efficiently.
And they appreciate it.
Right. Well, that's what I just...
their backs and their hands. Their
100%.
Appreciation from the employees.
It just clicked
it's
when you
another
said
incentive, that. You know what I mean? Like
you get to retain your employer.
Right.
I can go to work tomorrow and not worry about being sore the next day because I have that suction machine that the boss just spent a lot of money on. But at the end of the day, he's taking care of us.
The most successful companies that come into our store, I'd say, are the ones that come either to the store with our guys or talk to us about what's the next new tool. No matter what it is, they're getting it for their guys to even just at least try. Does it help you? Do you like it better?
And that leads back to
and
innovation.
then
You see some of our bigger machinery, we let the guys rent it out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, rent it out for the day. If you like it, keep it. Just pay me for it. Right? If you don't like it, bring it back, because maybe it's not for you.
Right.
So
100%.
Now, to Gavin's point, I think everyone that comes to our store is successful. I just think
Agreed.
some think more outside the box than others.
A little
To
bit more
try
outside
to be
thinking.
more productive, to try to increase their profit margins. And that's where the tools and the suction cups and everything else comes into play.
Everyone has a different hunger level.
Right. However,
100%.
everyone that goes through that front door of ours, they're already successful.
100%.
Yeah.
Definitely.
100%.
And I should reiterate on that. Then it's just I'm saying a total different outlook, because some guys
Absolutely.
do have. Some guys are successful with 2-guy crews, just themselves, and some guys have 4 crews.
It's a different
And
ball
so
game. It's a different-
if you're working off of
what's the word?
2 crews, I'm not saying that you're not successful, but you know what you need, because it's just I'm saying 2 guys. It's just you and another guy, so you know what you need.
Well, back to your class with Pay Repeat. Crews were operating at 4 or 5-man crews, and Pay Repeat explained to you guys and to the audience how to cut that 4 or 5-man crew to 3 crews. Now you take 3 different crews and create 4 crews out of the 3.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have a 4th crew if operating correctly with the proper tools.
Yep.
Now your
100%,
crews are being more efficient, and you have a 4th one on the streets there.
Okay,
And that's
so,
another thing.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. It's another thing, I would assume is going to be discussed down the road is, when's it time to grow? When's it time to bite off a little bit more?
Mhm.
So I'm glad you brought that up, Aiden,
Yeah.
because now that you got 4 crews, when you only had 3, and now you broke them down into 4, it's time to grow, like Aiden says. But how are we going to do it?
You're going to do it. Are you going to
we're
open
gonna turn
up
it into the
maintenance?
social media? How are we going to produce all of this? So this whole podcast
Marketing.
is all going to tie together.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
you just got to follow through each episode.
Cut us some slack for the first episode. by the way.
But we are going to bring Paver Pete does want to come on already.
Mhm.
Okay, and we'll probably ask Pete some questions about pricing. Okay, as you see in changing climates, you got an election year coming up. Sometimes it can get a little bit challenging to find work.
Mhm.
But if you tie it in together about everything we've talked about tonight, and we're going to talk about again in the future, then I think you'll have a little bit more success each and every year. We're going to talk about insurance. We're going to bring on a representative that we deal with. He's a good gentleman, friendly. What kind of insurance do you have? Okay. Do homeowners know to ask for your insurance?
Mm.
Right? So this podcast is primarily going to be geared towards contractors. But if any homeowners tune in, they need to know, do you have insurance? Do you have liability? What kind of insurance do you have? Do you have riders on your insurance in case your own person gets hurt on my property and now you're not suing my homeowner's insurance?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So insurance can be a sticky thing. It's the necessary evil, right?
Right.
You've got to have it. And again, that price should be broken down into your square foot price. So that ought to be an interesting topic. Again, going back to different products that are on the market now. So you say I'm old and I label myself as the caveman, but there's a lot new products out on the market than there was 30 years ago.
It was more than 2 years ago.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
I mean, just different types of cements that are out there. Okay. To dry lay, to wet lay all your pool copings. We particularly like to sell Ardex, right? Very, very sticky. 30 years ago, I never heard of Ardex. They may have been around, but there was nobody trying to educate us on, do on hands demo.
Right.
And we might do that here in the studio. Some on-hands demo of that product and show, the sag rate of, doing your veneer stone.
Mm.
So that ought to be an interesting topic. like I mentioned, Paver Pete coming on would be interesting. Maybe Bill Gardaki's listening, and we can bring him on, and he can, you know, talk about how to price projects. Okay, because that, you guys mentioned it before. That's a very, very
5 pages of notes worth on that guy.
even for you.
Even for me, I didn't fall asleep.
But that's a class I took 20 plus years ago, and it's stuck with me. You know,
100%.
He kept everyone engaged.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know what
Good
you're getting when
class.
you go to a class like that. You know.
right?
Good class.
But yeah, I think everyone in there was engaged and took a lot from what he had to say. So,
But as far as bringing vendors and outside insurance companies, etc., bringing everything in, I mean, I think we're here to stay for a long time, so we intend on bringing a lot of our other manufacturers as well.
Right.
You know, as you mentioned earlier, shout out to Landmark.
Yeah, shout out to Landmark.
Andrew.
We
So
also
let's talk about that for a second.
Well, we also have Unilock to bring in.
Yeah.
We have a few different. I mean, shout out to Unilock. We have a lot to bring in.
Ryan could come in here and speak about social media.
Teco, shout out Teco.
Teco, shout out to Teco.
He could talk about social media for days.
Yeah, and he's good at it.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah,
another
that's a
thing
social
maybe
media
too.
guru.
How about drone photography?
It's
You
another
know,
one.
also ties into your marketing.
Goes a long way.
The drone shots that we've been sent, I mean, it's a night and day difference when you get some drone shots to, you know, technology is evolving. iPhones take great photos, but when you come in with these professional photos, these drone shots, I mean, I've been to a job and the drone shot impressed me, and I couldn't even believe it was the same job by the end of it. I'm like, wow.
Now imagine seeing that job before the job started.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure we'll bring in designers to discuss about designs, 3D designs, 3D renderings, CAD drawings, 2D designs.
And you don't need to have them on your own staff.
Nope.
Mm-mm.
They can be outsourced.
Outsourced.
Right?
A lot of them are outsourced nowadays.
Absolutely. But if a homeowner sees what their project will look like after it's completed, before even putting a shovel in the ground, it's a great selling point.
Yeah. And it's just another thing that gives you that advantage over the other guy. You know what I mean?
Right. So maybe you're $5,000 higher.
Okay, but that, you know, I'm willing to pay that
But now
because
they know
I
what
can
they're
see
paying
what-
for.
Yeah, exactly.
The homeowner knows
I
what they're
see
paying
what
for.
I'm paying for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, goes a long way. The little things go a long way. We even heard a little tip where he used to go on an estimate. There's a gentleman. He used to go on an estimate. He used to bring a shovel, a little, what do you call those things you used to play around with in science class? I know it was ancient times for you guys, but
Throwing jabs left and right.
yeah, one of those
Like
things
a
that you
beaker.
guys know, like a beaker. And he said he used to bring a little baby shovel,
Test tube.
a test tube, that's the word, and his laser. And he used to say, you know, and the homeowner could maybe know, maybe doesn't know what's going on really. He used to bring a laser, just pretend to shoot elevation. Maybe he did sometimes, maybe he didn't. Maybe it didn't even need it. And then he used to say that he needs to take a sample of the soil just to test it. Sometimes you need to do that. Most of the time, not really. But it was impressive. And a lot of the times he got the job just because no one else did that. No one else did that coming up to an estimate just because it's
I think it is necessary to test that
100%.
soil.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
And think about
Clay to sand.
the conversation we had a little while ago about us digging out for those Japanese flower beds.
Mm-hmm.
If I
That's
was
true.
smart enough
That's true.
to think to put a shovel in the ground, I would have known that ground was solid as a rock.
That's true. That's true.
Okay. So, and
It just shows that there's a lack of people
doing that.
doing that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
maybe
Okay.
that's
That's another great topic we're gonna have. How many guys charge for their estimates?
we know a guy that charges
Right.
for estimates who sucks at Madden, by the way, but we know a guy that started charging for estimates.
Right. And he weeds out all the tire kickers.
Yeah,
Why? Because he knows his time is valuable.
Yeah.
He knows his worth to his family.
100%.
But on the long run of things, from a landscaper contractor's perspective, that soil should be tested.
Yeah,
your different pH levels, plants adapt to different soil conditions.
that's true too. Yeah.
So they should be testing the soil at the end of the day, so that way they make sure the plant will thrive forever.
Well,
Yeah.
the same guy talked about testing the soil, checking for access. Number 2, your elevation was important because he's like, how far do I actually have to take out here, or how much do I have to take out here to compare to there, and going through the whole list. He's like, yeah, I took out 5 props. I needed to use 3 of them, but still, just in case I need them, I always had them on hand. Did it make me look more official? Yes, but in my eyes, I still needed those just in case, and I needed to check my important things.
Right.
And that was another thing too. Asking for a survey of their whole property, because sometimes next thing you know, you're on the property, you hit a gas line or you hit a sprinkler line, and next thing you know, that goes into another thing, and not a planning for unforeseen circumstances.
Well,
every job's different.
To educate the young guys at this table, they cannot put a shovel on the ground without making an 811 call. They have to get a mark out, and the sprinkler won't be on it.
That was in our class.
However, the gas line will be on it.
What if your dog digs to China and he decides to dig down to a gas line?
Your dog should be
because the wife will be sitting there
811.
filling that thing up.
So if your dog can dig, I believe it's 18 to 24 inches down for a gas line, I'm pretty sure you won't even see your dog anymore.
Shout out that dog.
He almost disappeared the other day. I think I caught the wife filling the hole when he was still in there almost.
So again, we hope today was an informative introduction to who we are, what we plan on bringing to this podcast. Hardscape Huddle will be an educational, informative podcast for end users and contractors. So please stay tuned for our next episode, and we thank you for tuning in tonight.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.